Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is back in session. Here for another guest speaker episode at AOA Studios. If you're an artist, podcaster, or content creator of any kind, make sure you hit us up at aoastudios.org to book your session or service today. We offer a plethora of different services like audio recording, podcasting, videography, photography, and so much more. So make sure you check us out. And I'm joined today by another very special guest. He is again, talk about a plethora of different things. You are just a creative. I should just put it that way, because you are a vocalist. You produce your own music too. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You're a videographer, photographer. You really just kind of are the whole package when it comes to creative endeavors. And this is, of course, none other than Peirc joining us on Turntable Teachers.
Thank you.
Which is kind of a long time coming, man. I'm glad to have you here.
Dude, you took the words out of my mouth. I feel like it's ever since Taha put me onto you.
Yep. Big shout out to Taha.
Yeah,
by the
shout
way.
out Taha.
We love
you,
Taha.
bro.
Yeah.
I've just been like, yo, this guy's dope. What you're doing is dope. You're like doing such a service for us artists. So I've been vibing with you for a while, bro. And everything you put out is always good, high quality. So
thank you.
And the fact you have this space now is huge. So
yeah, it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing for sure. I've been really fortunate and lucky to have been able to be here and to continue it in this sort of way. Not to say that like the other ways I was doing it were bad, it's just, pandemic. When speaking of Taha, the last time he was on, that was when we were in the Zoom days of the podcast. And then there was the era of Nowhere Studios with, and shout out to all those guys. They were just so great and gracious through the whole time that I was there. But yeah, when you have an opportunity to, be in your own space, it's a cool thing. So, but man, like I feel like you're somebody that, and it's interesting. I'm glad to have you on because you don't seem like somebody that likes the spotlight. You're not really enjoying it too much. You're a soft-spoken guy, right? So it's kind of one of these things where it must be such an interesting sort of like battle for you. I mean, not battle's the wrong word, but like kind of balancing it and trying to figuring out like as somebody that is trying to pursue creative endeavors, yet you seem like somebody that is more, I mean, maybe I have a wrong read on you, but I feel like you're somebody that likes to be a little bit more in the background and observant. Maybe that kind of plays into like your videography and photography. So this is the objective part of the podcast where we get to know a little bit about your background, things like that. So I'll kind of start there, I guess, if that's okay. Like, I'm just curious as just in general, like as a person, like how hard is that for you to like becoming now like a front man of like your own artistry?
I have always been a leader, and believe it or not, I'm what's the word? Introverted extrovert?
Okay.
Or extroverted introvert. I'm one of those two. Because I love people. I love talking to people. I love connecting with people. But in like my job as a videographer and a photographer, yes, I am in the background, which I love. I love letting other people take the lead and me just capturing their essence. That's a part of the reason that I'm alive, I feel, is to help people be themselves and document that and relay that to an audience. But it is a balance, exactly what you said. I wouldn't say it's a battle, because I have my different facets of life where I can be quiet, but I also have my moments where I can be loud. And I don't know. It's not, I wouldn't even say it's a challenge, because I have those two avenues.
Interesting.
Because I don't know, I'm blessed to have these different avenues to express myself.
Right.
Because, I mean, videography and photography are great, and it allows me to capture moments in time, and music allows me to capture emotions and feelings in time. And I feel like visual art can be that way as well, but there's something to the audio game that I personally can't seem to capture with my camera, and maybe that's a skill issue, but
No, I think there's just two different ways. That's like you said. I don't think it's necessarily like you can or can't. It's just a matter of like that's just what it is. Like when you're capturing the video, that's the point, is to get the visual. I mean, again, not to say that audio can't, create visuals in your head, which your new project, which we'll talk about pretty soon, I think certainly does that. No question. I was just listening to it before we got here. To stay on that topic though, I want to really dive into the background, because for you, like, what kind of came first, the chicken or the egg, so to speak? Was it like, I want to be a musical artist, and then I'm going to like figure out a way to just create my own visuals, and then naturally you became a videographer through that? Or was it the opposite, where you're a videographer first, you're working with so many talented artists as you already have, working on, plethora of different projects like music videos and, promos and whatever. And then you were like, I kind of want to do this music thing. So like, because this is like something that's cool. So like, which kind of came first? I'm kind of curious.
Well, I'll take you way back. I've been making movies and skits since I was a kid with my siblings. I have 4 siblings, and my older sister was always the director. She'd be behind the camera, and she'd be like, all right, jump out of that tree, and like fly over the hood and do a bunch of crazy stuff. And so that creativity began very young, and I'm in a very creative family. I'm frankly probably the least creative, or least talented creative in my family.
I do not believe that for a second.
You got to meet my family, because
you got one creative family then.
They're insane, dude. They're all very inspirational. And
what else do your, not to go down this tangent, but what do your siblings and parents do potentially?
So Abby, my older sister, she's in Costa Rica with my brother-in-law, her husband, and they have a music project called Ceramic, and they produce and write all their stuff out there. Wow. They actually know Bouvet, the Bouvet brothers.
Bouvet. Yeah.
And those guys are freaking awesome.
Big shout out to Bouvet. He's actually from this area. He's from like the North Shore area.
Sam and Harry, 2 good guys. Love Sam. Super good at playing the bass, dude. You guys so groovy. But so they do that. They're dope. They got their whole thing going. My little brother Josiah, he's a little bit like me. He does everything. He's kind of a wild card. He's a great music producer. He does visual stuff. He'll animate. He's a really good illustrator. Thomas is actually around this area too. I think he's 20. Me, Joe, and Thomas are all like within like 5 years apart.
Okay.
So we'll jam in the basement whenever Thomas is home. Like, we'll jam and make music or whatever. And but Thomas is just like a prodigy. He's just a very silly kid, but he's a genius. He like taught himself how to play piano. He can play like every Beatles song on the piano.
No way.
So he's very creative and just a brain. And then Elizabeth, who's my youngest sister, and she's in high school. She's like does everything. She's into theater. She's got absolute pipes for like, her voice is crazy. And she's been getting into like sewing and designing. So like for her plays, she'll design all the costumes for the plays. So they did I forget what play it was, but it was like an old time. Maybe it was like Little Woman or something. But she designed and sewed every single dress for every woman in the play. It was sick. And like I love doing that. I love like making clothes. I love patching things
big
up.
Big fashion guy, I feel like, for you, like, or not even fashion, but like you said, you just like making your own clothes. Like I've noticed that when I've come across you in person.
It's just another way to express myself.
Yeah.
I feel like what we wear is like it's a way to speak without speaking. Mm-hmm. And when I can make the things that I'm wearing, it's like another level of expression.
That's super cool. What did your parents do?
My dad is a creative director for a healthcare diagnostics company. Okay. So like corporate stuff, but he's like behind the marketing and the internal creative
still a creative
stuff.
mind there. That's why I'm asking, because I'm just curious. Like all you guys are creative, so I'm thinking like where did that stem from, right?
Yeah. And my mom is just a mom. She does a bunch of like side hustle stuff, but she fosters the creativity in us. That's what I can give her credit for, because I was homeschooled. All of my siblings were homeschooled.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So at least up until high school, because I wanted to play football and
right,
all that. So I was like,
baseball.
all right. Yeah, all that. I was like, I got to get out. I was a very active child, so
gotcha.
I like drove my mom crazy. She was like, all right, be free, get out of here.
I love it. Dope.
But yeah, so she was just mostly a mom most of my life.
Got it. Okay.
That's a full-time job within itself. So.
Well, okay. Well, the Flynn. Never mind then. I stand corrected. The Flynn family is pretty damn creative. I like that.
Yeah. It's humbling.
So yeah, kind of. I'm curious too, though. So you guys were making a lot of movies or like whatever when you were younger.
Yeah.
When did you start to pick up the camera?
Probably middle school into high school. We would just like make like army movies, and like it was fun running around in the woods with guns and getting shot and doing stunts and stuff like that. But in terms of like seriously doing stuff, it started at UMass, and I don't know what you want to call the chicken or the egg, but I started making music my junior year or my sophomore year. I'm sorry. With
At UMass
Amherst, where I met Rolly,
Yep.
I met Artem, I met Taha. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anyone else that I met out there that you might know. But all good people.
Yeah.
I love Rolly, I love Artem, and obviously I love Taha. And it was sophomore year. My buddy Tony Bumps, who's one of my best friends, he's just a good soul. He was in his dorm room cooking up some beats, and his melodies and his 808s were completely out of tune, and my musical ear was like, yo, that's tough, like let's fix that, bro. So I sat down with him, we started making beats together, and like I would make the melodies and he would do the 808s and he would do the drums and all that. And eventually I was like, you know, I can do this, and I realized my laptop had GarageBand, started just making trash beats on GarageBand. And UMass was a blessing because they have on the third floor of the library, they have like a media studio lab type thing.
Okay.
Honestly, it gives me vibes like this with like the different like studio rooms. And I met this artist, Mehdi and Sky, and they were seniors and I was a sophomore, and we like got in the studio together, and I was like showing them a beat, and oh, that's cool, whatever. And I think I had a camera at that point. They're like, yo, I'm trying to make a music video, like let's do this. And they kind of just enabled me because they knew I would be free. And they I guess they saw something in me, and they're like, yo, let's make a video. So I made a music video for Mehdi, and he ended up paying me like $15. I don't know why, just because he's a good guy. And I shot
this is
it.
all I got. This is my
Yeah.
It's my beer money for the week or whatever it was.
Legit. And I shot it primarily on my GoPro.
Interesting.
And I had like a GoPro drone, so we like flew the drone, and like it was so bad. I don't even know if it's still on the internet. He probably took it down. If he's smart, he took it down. But
well, the first project's never quite, you know, what
of
you would.
course.
I mean, my first podcast was probably not the great.
Yeah.
So when I had my old co-host from a long time ago, our first podcast, it was a GarageBand microphone that we put into a cup because we didn't even have a mic stand. Wow. We had one microphone, one GarageBand microphone. We stuck it in a cup. I sat in a chair, he sat in a chair, and we talked down into the microphone like that so it would pick up.
I love that.
And that's how it started. I'm not kidding. So
I
like,
love that.
Was it that great? Probably not. But like,
but you made it work.
Exactly.
Because you wanted to, and you were passionate about it.
Exactly. And that's all it is at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get to the places you want to go. Or like for me to be sitting here in this space, like it's almost surreal in a lot of ways to like be like, wow, this is where we're at. And then for you to like be creating the videos that you're creating now, it's mind blowing. And I want to thank you too, because I've been sort of on this getting back into the videography side of my itch. So a lot of people don't know this, but I was really, really close to going to school for videography. That's like I want, and communications.
Where'd you go to school?
I ended up going to Framingham State.
Okay, cool.
So my junior year, I was part of the TV program for a number of years, and I want to big shout out to my teacher, Mr. Lombard, Jim Lombard. He's like probably one of the best mentors I've had in my entire life, and I sincerely love him to death. Without him, I don't think any of this is possible, truthfully. And I got into the class on accident as a freshman, and they had like 3 levels. He treated it like a varsity program where you had your TV seminar, and then advanced TV was like your JV, and then you had intro to TV, which is like your quote unquote freshman team, right?
Yeah.
But very, very rarely freshmen didn't get into the class. So anyway, long story short, I'm really into it. Like, I'm enjoying it. I was really having fun with everything I was doing. And then I come to find out that, it's like most videographers, it's, a freelance type deal, it's like not guaranteed money wise, blah, blah, blah. And I just didn't come from a family situation financially where I could take a risk to like do something unstable. So I decided to, clearly I didn't pick a great choice to make a ton of money, but I went into teaching because I was like, all right, well, I want to do something that I think I would like or whatever.
That's important.
Absolutely. But it's just interesting anyway, long story short, to come back to this, that I found myself back to this. So anyway, I want to thank you because you've been so helpful with me. You send me different packs and just like all these different things, and just your ear and your eye have been so helpful for like the couple months that I've been working on certain projects. So I thank you for that. Sincerely.
I'm happy to help, man.
Yeah.
The knowledge is free, and it's to be shared, and like you have the eye and the skill set. It's just a matter of gaining the experience to do it.
Seriously.
And you're doing it. And like every single project you do is better than the last one.
I feel that way too.
It's like
I definitely feel that
you're
way.
evolving in front of my eyes, and it's
Thank you,
sick.
man.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro. I really appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's been immensely helpful, and I've been really enjoying myself, getting into that creative endeavor. So, if you need a music video done, either of us, probably him. He's probably your first bet, but if you want to,
you need the work. I'm too busy, bro.
It's fair. All right, so then come to me, I guess, if you want.
He's just as good.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. With that set in there, it's pretty. You can do some sick.
We
stuff.
can. Yeah. We've been doing some fun stuff in there. Yeah. So anyway, so when did you decide, like, because you play instruments as well, right? Like you play guitar or bass?
Guitar, bass, keys, finger drums.
You kind of do all
anything that makes noise.
So when did you decide, like, okay, so as you said it was college, but like afterwards, after you do it, so you're working on GarageBand for a while, trying to figure it all out. When did it kind of click for you where you were like, I can actually potentially like pursue this artistry and actually like be a full-fledged musician?
I don't know. I don't know if I've even had that moment click for me yet.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't treat it as like, oh, I'm a full-fledged musician. I'm just an artist. And like I just started making music and writing music and recording music as a necessity, honestly. Like it was a form of survival for my like mental health, to like get these like shadows and this pain out of me. And like I would write in my journal and stuff, but being able to expel it vocally, it was so like healing for me. And that was like a lot of my music at UMass was made, just put out on SoundCloud, and I don't even know if it's still out on SoundCloud, and it was just me. I would make like, I would put out like an EP every single month purely because I had to do it. And that's just the way it was. And like I would share with people, and like it was always good to get feedback, but it was never really about like who received it. It was more for me. And obviously like now that I'm putting stuff out on streaming platforms and I'm creating content around it, and I'm definitely trying to build more of an experience for people. So it's more for people now than it was in the past, but it's still for me, and it's just me expressing myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question because
That's
I don't know.
okay.
I don't know if it's happened yet.
Interesting. So you may be still in that phase, and that's
Yeah.
totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for you, like with the music videos. So then, all right. So I want to go back to that a little bit too with the music videos. So you started when the GoPro, and then when did you like upgrade to like the camera, and then really started becoming like somebody that was sought after to do like video projects and different things like that?
Yeah, I think it was my going into senior year. Maybe I got a Sony A6000, and because I was doing like a photography independent study, and
Okay.
I was starting to like film just like studio sessions, and I just had met Joe Bruce, who has been very influential. He's my brother. I met him he's from Providence. He's started Waterbury Music Group.
Which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, so I met him, and he gave me another huge opportunity to like film a music video for him, and I shot that on that small mirrorless Sony that didn't shoot in 4K or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like my first step. And then once I graduated, the pandemic hit. I guess so. I got that camera that's filming right now in 2020, and Taha hit me up, and he was like, "Yo, your visuals are crazy, bro. I want to make something with you." And I was like, "Word, like let's do it. Like obviously your music is sick." He was like, "But it has to be in 4K." And I was like, "Oh, I don't have a 4K camera." He's like, "Oh, can we rent something?" And I was like, "You know what? No, I'm gonna use this as an excuse to invest in myself." And that camera was so expensive at the time. It was like $3,000 or something. And I got a loan from my parents, and I was like, I need this for this music video. And they helped me pay for it, and which, thank you. I'm blessed to even have that as a thing.
As an opportunity,
that's
yeah.
like huge. And we made Nightmares.
Which is like one of my favorite music videos that I've seen come out of Massachusetts in the last like 5 years that I can remember.
That's
like
crazy.
I truthfully love that music video like so much. Taha knows this, but
Yeah.
like I like just enjoy the hell out of it. It's just the cinematography aspect of it especially is what I love, but then the effects, like how just like wildly manic you make him look, which he can do on his own,
Yeah.
which we don't need to, you know, but
Yeah.
you like take it to another level, you know what I mean? So it's like really cool like to see what you guys were able to accomplish with that. So was that like your really first big project, you would say then? Video project?
Man, it's all a blur. Probably. I mean, it was the first thing I ever shot with that camera.
With that camera.
And from there, things kind of just like snowballed, to be honest. And like even at that point, I was like pretty like heavy in the freelance game, but like then I graduated like the next season. Like that spring, we filmed that in the fall. It was like Halloween. Was that 2020? Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2020.
Halloween 2020, and then 2021, I finally graduated from UMass because it was Zoom Mass instead of actual school. And then I dove just head first into the whole thing. But yeah, I guess I'll say that was like my first big project. And I mean, the credit to Taha though, man, that was his vision. Like I found the locations and all that stuff, but like he was like, "Yo, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that." The clay at the end, like
It's insane.
like it was like
He said it was disgusting
it
to have
was
to like get
uncomfortable at times, but it was like such a fun experience. We were just like in the trenches, freaking doing it. We went out in my woods. We like dug up a hole and like buried them, like which only happens for like 3 or 5 seconds in the whole entire thing.
It's not even that long of a shot. No, absolutely.
But
no, that music video is insane. Definitely check it out. We'll link it in the description. Make sure you guys check it out if you haven't yet. And it's a couple years old, but like it's still to this day, it stands the test of time. I love that video 100%. And you grew up in Plainville, correct?
Yeah.
And which is like southern Mass.
So it's
sort of.
You know Gillette Stadium?
Yeah.
Like 7 minutes down the road from
You're
Gillette
like,
Stadium.
You poor thing on Sundays. That must be. You just don't leave your house.
I just avoid it.
You just don't even leave the house.
I don't go north.
Just don't go
Yep,
north on
yep,
Sundays
Yep.
if their Patriots are home. So you're like a lot closer proximity to Providence, correct, than
Yeah.
you are Boston. So I'm curious, like, do you spend a lot? This is my last question in the objective part of the podcast. Do you spend a lot of time in Providence, and like, is there a lot of art? Like, I know we had recently in the last few months had a Providence artist on by the name of Derek Tyler, who's originally a Dorchester guy, but ended up going to school there and then stayed there. So I'm curious, like, and from your perspective, what's the art scene like in that like southern part of the state? Because we haven't had a lot of southern Mass, I would say, or South Shore, so to speak, artists on, and then not as many from like that sort of like Providence area. So I'm kind of curious, like, what's the scene like from like a music standpoint, and how did it potentially inspire you there, or was it mostly just the UMass thing that really like?
Providence has one of the richest art cultures I've ever been a part of.
I've heard this.
It's like awesome. They're like every single night you can find music. Like there's like AS220, which is a nonprofit out in the city. And it's not just them, but I forget what the organization is, but they have like beat battles.
Okay.
Like monthly. They have like rap battles. There's like scenes of these people that only do that. They only rap battle. They don't like put music on streaming platforms. They just show up and they rap battle, which is
That's crazy.
sick. Like the hip hop scene is very strong there. There's so many really good bands. Toad and the Stooligans, which is like a funky hip hop jazz fusion. I don't know how to like put them in a genre, but they're sick. And the two frontmen for that are Dan Pomfret and Toad. And they're both just great MCs. They're just beasts. And it helps me, being in Providence helped me grow so much. And it goes back to Joe Bruce. Like he brought me around so many influential and like positive people, and just being in the rooms with these people helped me learn and absorb and become the artist that I am today. Yeah. And oftentimes I was just like following them around with a camera and just going to studio sessions and just observing. Sometimes if I was lucky, I would get in the booth and nothing would come of it, but like I still have that opportunity. But yeah, man, I can't give Providence enough praise. It's awesome. I really love that city. I mean, there's definitely every city has its flaws, but
of course,
it's great. And one thing I'll say that's kind of sad to see is there's, I don't know if you've heard of PVD Fest.
I don't think so.
So it's like every year, and it's usually in the summer, the beginning of the summer. It's like a citywide block party pretty much. And like they shut down like 4 or 5 of like the main streets in like downtown Providence. And I was lucky enough to go last year and film Joe and film a bunch of different artists. And it was just the most fun I've ever had. Like it just felt like a cultural experience. So much art being shared and exchanged. So many businesses like relying on this one weekend as like their food. And
crazy.
Providence just got a new mayor, and they like moved the date and they moved the location, and like, there's like a open container policy so no one can drink, and like which takes out food trucks and vendors. They don't make any business off of it. They just completely like took the essence of PVD Fest and just like sucked it out.
That's
and
so bad. And
I've seen the community like take a hit from that, and like a lot of the local artists like spoke out against it, and a lot of them were boycotting. There was like a horrible showing for it. Like,
that's too bad.
So
I hate hearing that stuff, because you want to invest in your art scene, in your culture, because it's so vital, which I'm glad Boston's finally doing.
Yes.
I just had Mo Pope on and a couple episodes ago, and same, like we talked about that a lot extensively, that finally, like, you know, the office mayor, whatever side you feel politically on it, her office and the Boston Arts and Culture office has really started to invest a lot more in arts and culture here in Boston, and you are seeing the results of that.
Yeah.
With when you have Earth Gang and Dead Prez, minus take out even all of the unbelievable local acts that were part of Goldfest.
Yeah.
When you had the fact that you had Earth Gang and Dead Prez for a second,
It's huge.
for the 50th anniversary of hip hop at Boston City Plaza for free. You did not need to pay.
That's
for free. You could see Earth Gang for free. You just walk up to Boston City Plaza and watch Earth Gang. Like, tell me when that hasn't happened in like the last 10 years since like Mac Miller, I think, headlined the last one. That was like over a decade ago. So it just goes to show that like when you invest in your art scenes, like it really does help a lot, so much.
Yes.
It's incredibly important.
Yeah.
So that's too bad to hear about Providence. I hope that they sort of are able to revive that in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I say all that just to say like that's how much Providence relies on their art and like the culture of their music scene, because without it, there's still great aspects of Providence, but there's just it's just, I don't know, it's sad to see.
Right.
Like,
That's too bad. It's too bad.
But
well, it's okay. On a lighter note, we were going to get to the main lesson. I do want to talk about the latest EP, Tripping.
yeah.
Quite an experience. And you talk about giving people an experience. You're doing that. So what about doing an album like this that's a little bit more conceptual? It's very short. It's like, 5-6 tracks, maybe like 12, 13 minutes. It's not a super long listen. So we'll also link that in the description. And of course, don't leave or go anywhere. Definitely check it out after this episode, of course. We've got plenty more left with Peirc. But I know you've talked about in like some promo videos, and it's just something where like you've called out certain albums, like, or called back to certain albums, like a My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, or maybe like about Because the Internet, or What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, where the songs kind of just seamlessly go in and out of each other, and you almost don't really even know when a new song is starting. And I feel like that does capture your album or EP, whatever you want to call it, completely, where you can listen to the full 15, 14-ish minutes, however long it might be, and not kind of know when a song starts and when it ends, which is kind of sick. So, like, was that intentional going into this? I guess is the first part of the question. And the second part would be, what was it about those particular albums that you were talking about specifically that, like, maybe potentially inspired this project?
So I've been doing this concept of flowing songs together since my very first album, Wandering. And leading into Seeking, I did it a little bit better. It was more seamless with Seeking, and I feel like with Tripping, I'm getting a better hang of it. But I think it's with all of those, but I'm specifically Tripping. It's really, I even as a kid, just hearing songs, and even like a beat switch up, and it's the same song, and I have to look at my iPod and be like, "Was this the same song?" That's, I love those moments, and
Definitely.
I kind of want to create that for people, or I want them to not even think about their phone and just be like in that world.
Yeah.
Either or, whatever. Everyone's gonna react differently, but yeah, I don't know. For me, like, these projects it's like a chance to tell a chapter of my story, and the reason they all flow, or like that concept stays consistent, is when I'm dead and gone, I want people to be able to put all my music in a playlist and like feel the life of Peirc, and feel the beginning to the end. And like, obviously my early music is not as clean or well mixed or well written or produced, but it's like a documentation of me, where I was then, and like it's a documentation of my progression. And that's kind of how I see it. And they're like, Tripping is an immediate continuation from Seeking, and the last song on Tripping is Back into the Cave, the whole entire story of seeking is you're in the cave looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. And by the end of the project, you do find the light at the end of the tunnel. And tripping is like the people see that title and they think, oh, he's tripping. But it's a triple entendre where it's, maybe like it's a psychedelic project, but also you're tripping and falling. You're tripping over your own self or something physical on the ground. And also a lot of that music was inspired on my trips to different places around the world and the country, and I went on a road trip, and that the project's concept or the name came to me while I was in Moab, Utah. So that answers your first part.
Definitely. No, it definitely did. And now that you say that, I like certain songs like Cruise Control, Wrong Turn feel a lot more intentional now. Or there was like a lot more of a purpose with those than I thought before when you give that context. Yeah. Super interesting. But then, and of course, the second part, which was some of the albums that I'm not saying you're comparing them, but like just because that's the wrong word for sure, because they're just completely different albums, all of these, but sort of the idea of like a conceptual project, like I said, where like the songs kind of flow seamlessly. Like, so clearly that sounds like it was intentional and has been intentional throughout your music career or your time making music. But what about those albums either inspired you with this, or did you like hold in high regard because of you think they achieved the same things?
I mean, they have achieved far more than I have. Well, they're purely
those are some of the highest iconic artists of all time. Childish Gambino, incredibly slept on, by the way. And incredibly underrated, in my opinion, as a musician and as an artist.
Gambino. I mean, I think. Can we talk about Gambino for a second?
Of course.
He's a huge inspiration. I mean, he's a mogul, just like in all facets of media he has his hands in. And I mean, Atlanta is such a well-written and shot show. And he's an incredible actor. I mean, I think the first time I ever saw him was in Community. And then when I found his music, I was like, wait, this is the dude from Community? Like, what? I mean, because the internet has been one of my favorite projects for a while, and that there are some songs there that flow together, and there's some songs in there that have like a part A, part B, part C, where you have that beat switch and you look at your phone and you're like, what was that? But that project primarily inspired me as I was seeking. I was listening to that project because of the internet, and I recognized the Roman numerals, and I was like, what do these mean? And then I went into listening to that project front to back with that in mind, trying to figure out, like, are these chapters? Are they, like, why is it sequenced like this? So it inspired me to just, like, put my projects into chapters now. And so that was cool. I mean, I don't know. I probably won't do that with every project. Maybe it's just a seeking thing. Who knows? And then Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. I had listened to that project as a kid and as a young adult without like ever like taking into account. I was like, this is great soulful music. It's one of the best albums of all time, as people would tell me, and I was like, okay, I gotta listen to it. I only really made that connection with my music recently while I was sequencing tripping. And I'll talk about what I mean by sequencing, because that's like a whole different aspect of the project creation.
Right.
Because like you have the producing process, you have the mixing process, you have the mastering process. And then for me, I take those songs and I listen to them. Okay, how do these flow together? Figure out how to sequence them. And then I bring all of those songs into a Logic project and I make them bleed together and breathe together.
That's sick.
and with sound design and taking like a reverb tail or reversing the beginning of this song and putting it at the end of that song so it like reverses into itself. And I don't know, there's a lot of crazy different methods to make it work. But anyways, Marvin Gaye, I was listening to that project as I was sequencing the project, tripping, and I was driving, and I was like, wait, is this song over? And I've been listening for 15 minutes, and it was on like the 4th song on the project, and I was like, that's so sick, because the key signatures change, the time signatures change, and it's like you can tell. I don't know how it happened. It's just like masterful musicianship that I don't understand. But it's that's cool. I just like that flowing feeling.
Yeah,
is like for sure. And that project, the contents of that project are so profound and hit especially hard right now in the world that we're living.
For sure. I feel like when you can get lost in an album like that or a project, like it really is transcending in a lot of ways, and like it's an experience that you want to have again.
Yeah.
But it's unlike it when you have it for the first time. So it's like with a certain project, like you can go back to it again, but it's nothing like that first time when like you're listening to an album and you feel that, and like nothing else is like matters right now. I can just be in this world. I personally love Cruise Control. That's like been my shit for a while since it came out. But out of all the songs, which would be like your go-to or favorite? And I'm like asking you to like pick a favorite of your children, but
I like Cruise Control a lot. There is a better version of Cruise Control out there in the universe, but I lost it.
Which I want to talk about briefly. Do you mind if we play a clip of Cruise Control?
Sure.
And then we'll talk a little bit about what you lost. And we'll be right back. Okay, cool. Yeah. This is Cruise Control by Peirc from his latest EP, Tripping. Come right back, and we'll be right back with Peirc. And that was Cruise Control by Peirc off of his brand new project, Tripping. You guys want to make sure you check that out after the episode. It's linked in the description below. So unfortunately, the bad news. But, you know, in a lot of ways it worked out. But I know this is, I would feel horrible if this happened to me. Your hard drive fried. And you lost like pretty much all your music. Yeah. Is that correct?
On the road trip that inspired Tripping.
Which is incredibly ironic. But either way.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, with you, like with that happening, right, and you creating this EP Tripping, like I'm wondering, like, does Tripping hold like a more special place in your heart? Because like my guess is that like it kind of is reminiscent of the resilience you had, that despite losing all your music, you were still able to create this piece of art. So I guess like my question, and then you've always said too, I know you've mentioned this a couple of times, saying that the project is raw, it's imperfect, it's messy. So I'm curious, like with all of those things, like of course, you know, it's coming from a potentially messy situation as well in some ways with you losing all that music. It did come from a beautiful place, but I'm curious as well of like, do you think it helps prove any sort of like resilience for you as a person, if you will, to like not give up, essentially?
I mean, I guess we could spin it like that.
I'm trying to put it. I'm an optimist. I'm trying to put a little light spin on this.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, for me, when the hard drive first died, I was like, that's it. Like, I'm not meant to have that music. The world is not meant to have it. That's fine. And I like kind of came to terms with that. And was digging through my Google Drive, finding some footage for someone, and I found a couple random MP3s, and I was like, oh, I forgot these songs existed. And then I was like, okay, let me go look for some more, and I found some in like texts I would send to Joe Bruce or to my buddy Blood, or just to like, oh, what do you think of this? And like, oh, cool, but you got to fix the kick, all that, as an artist might do. And the music, when I was listening to it, still hit me in the soul. It still resonated with me, and in like parts of it gave me chills. I was like, damn, like this is a part of my story that I if I were to leave it out and if I were to just go on to the next project, there'd be a gap between Seeking and the next project. So I was like, okay, I gotta like figure out how can I relay this story, and figured it out. I don't know. I
made it happen.
Took the crappy demos and rough mixes and Frankensteined them together and made it work.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I think it like I said, I think it does go to show that like despite when hardship or adversity strikes, like you can go one of two ways. You can either, obviously there's that moment you're gonna have inevitably that you're upset and you're frustrated and pissed off, and like I worked so hard on all that, but
it was depressing.
I can imagine.
It was.
I wouldn't want to lose any of my hard drives, if you will. Like it's being a creative, like you have all these different hard drives that are constantly living. You're just praying everything works in the way that it does, real. But inevitably, I mean, there's been podcast episodes I've lost, and before I even got to edit them, like different things like that. Different cameras not working for whatever the case. Like it's been. It's a ride being an artist and being a creative.
Yeah.
I want to get into so by the way, I love the project. Definitely go stream it. It's out on all platforms. I'm glad you were able to again rise above all of that and put this out. I do want to get to some really cool things you got going on still, because that's what the main lesson's a part of. It's supposed to be about the amazing things you have going on. And one is super cool, but we're gonna save it because it's time for a pop quiz.
Cool.
So in pop quiz, you know what? This is he says cool. Artists, take notes, because every artist that comes on here, they're like, no, not a pop quiz.
I cool. hate school, but I like this school.
Let's do it. All right, I'm into it. So pop quiz, series of rapid fire questions where you just answer them to the best of your ability. Some have some things to do with music. Some things might have absolutely nothing to do with music whatsoever.
Cool.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
They're mostly about you, so you can't. There's no way you can fail unless you don't know yourself.
I'm just excited to see what kind of homework you did.
Well, I did quite a bit. We're gonna start off light, and then we'll get into some interesting stuff.
Cool.
So, what's your Mount Rushmore of you like films, right? I'm guessing do you like film or not really?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be like your Mount Rushmore of favorite films, like your top 4 films of all time?
Number 1, Napoleon Dynamite.
Great film.
Number 2, I'm not going to take this seriously.
You don't have to. It's fine.
But I mean that with no bit of irony. I love Napoleon Dynamite. Damn. What's a movie? I saw a movie that I was like, I really like Dune. That shouldn't be in the Mount Rushmore of films, but I really like
cinematography is pretty fucking great on that.
And the sound design and the music.
Yeah, well, that's coming soon. So
okay. Dune should not be in the Mount Rushmore of films.
I put you on the spot, so I'm not giving you a lot of time to think about it.
Okay.
You can throw it in. That's fine. Dune's a good movie. Dune 2 coming out soon. I can't wait for that.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons that it shouldn't be in the Mount Rushmore of films, because it's not the full story. Okay.
Well, it's your Mount Rushmore too. It's fine.
Yeah, it's all subjective.
It's okay.
But let me just rack my brain for movies that are good. Taxi Driver is really good.
Okay.
That's and I watched that for the first time like 2 or 3 years ago, and I was like, how have I not seen this movie before? That's definitely one of my favorites. So a funny story about me is I got a lot of concussions when I was a kid, so my memory is god awful. So going back into the archives of my brain is like dusting off like the Bible and trying to read it. And the Bible's in Aramaic, and you don't know how to read Aramaic.
What an analogy.
Napoleon Dynamite, Taxi Driver, The Incredibles, and WALL-E.
Wow, we went animation. I like it.
2 Pixar movies. I had to get the segment over with. I don't know.
It's okay. You're good. All right, now I'm a little nervous to ask this question too, but I think you'll be hopefully have a little bit easier time with this. Mount Rushmore favorite video games.
Minecraft, Red Dead Redemption 2, Star Wars Lego, the very first one. I played that on desktop. And Backyard Baseball.
Backyard Baseball was incredible. I love that shit. Pablo Sanchez.
Dude.
Was the man.
Yep. Him.
Was
Pete
the
Wheeler,
man.
dude. Pete Wheeler was my guy.
Pete Wheeler, he was a lefty, I remember.
Yeah,
And
he was wicked fast.
super fast and could he just made contact
Yeah.
and got on base.
Yeah.
Pablo Sanchez, man, he had the power.
It was just
You always had
guaranteed
him in the
bomb.
cleaner,
Yeah.
clean up
Yeah.
spot always.
Yep.
And he was good at every sport.
Yeah.
All the other backyards. I had all the other backyards.
That was the gimmick, dude. He was just like, all right, every single game, you just got to pick Pablo first.
Because he was a great point guard in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
He was great in soccer. I had them all, by the way. And he was a great running back in football.
Yeah.
So he was the man. Pablo Sanchez, big shout out to you, man.
Yep.
That's the GOAT right
I
there.
wonder what he's doing nowadays.
I don't know.
Probably coaching the team.
Probably coaching. TV show or movie that has the best animation, in your opinion? So not the best animated movie, but has just significantly awesome animation, in your opinion.
Something has to be said about the Into the Spider-Verse movies. At least those, the animation, the mixed media animation is just
Those are crazy.
So cool.
It's insane.
Yeah. I don't know. There's probably better animation, but Soul had really good 3D
Love
animation.
Soul. Great movie.
Yeah, that was a good movie. It wasn't my favorite Pixar movie, but
No.
Visually though, the lighting in that film was really cool. But yeah, I'd say I don't know. That's also the new Ninja Turtles movie has the same animation style as the Into the Spider-Verse stuff.
Haven't seen it.
It's cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dope. Video game or movie or TV show, whatever, with the best soundtrack or score that you can think of off the top of your head.
Say it one more time.
Best video game, movie, or TV show that has the best soundtrack or score. So best music that's within it.
Well, you can't group video game and movies together. Can you? Well,
Well,
I guess
again,
you can. It's your curriculum.
All right,
I
guess
guess
I'll rephrase the question. So, what's a video game that has the best soundtrack or score?
Minecraft.
Minecraft.
Best soundtrack in the world.
What about for movie?
Star Wars has some pretty iconic music. There's probably a really good musical that I'm forgetting. I don't know if that counts as a soundtrack, does it? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Let's just say Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Let's get
That's
this quiz over with.
That's a great score. Best place to get clam chowder.
Oh.
Your go-to spot for clam chowder.
I'm probably missing on some really good spots, but the first thing that comes to mind is the Red Parrot in Newport.
Okay. I've actually been there.
It's good clam chowder. Everywhere that I go, I try and get clam chowder. I mean, within reason. I'm not gonna get clam chowder when I'm
every single time you go to eat.
Yeah. But if I'm in this area, oh my god, let's check out the clam chowder. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Cool.
Yeah.
That works.
I guess
that works. I know Bert's your favorite Muppet. What's the most? But who's the most underrated Muppet?
Oh, Snuffleupagus.
Great answer.
Yeah, he's a good one.
Great answer. What do you find so enjoyable about disc golf? What's like the most fun part about disc golf?
Being amongst the trees, and it's a game that is like you versus yourself. There's a lot of like mental. It's a mental game. Golf is a mental game.
Oh, 100%.
So, I don't know. This past year, where I've like begun to play it more seriously and competitively, I've realized how important like my mental game is in all facets. But but primarily being out in the trees and just being free, not worrying about anything other than throwing some plastic.
Which is again kind of ironic, throwing plastic in the nature, but either way.
It's an oxymoron a bit. And you're like hitting trees with the discs, like not intentionally, but like when you throw, you're gonna hit.
You're gonna hit a tree.
Yeah.
It's just gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
Best memory or highlight? I know you said your memory's bad, but we're gonna go with this anyway. Best memory or highlight from your days playing Pop Warner football, or like a highlight game potentially. Or...
Yeah. Pop Warner. I only played 1 year of Pop Warner football.
Or high school football. That's fine. Either of those.
Yeah. Well, we went undefeated our Pop Warner year and our freshman year. We were pretty nasty. My class was just really good. And my first year playing football ever was 8th grade. And I was like lucky enough to start. I played tight end and I played D end that year. And then they pushed me out to wide receiver and cornerback, which was fun. But if I could go back, I wouldn't play football because
of the concussions.
I would have a brain. But it all had to happen some way. I probably wouldn't be making music if I
Fair enough.
did do that.
Fair enough. I know you used to set 3 or more alarms for yourself to get up for football in the morning. How many alarms do you set for yourself these days when trying to get up?
Probably the same amount
Same
or
amount.
more.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves, by the way. I forced my girlfriend. She used to have like 5, and I'd be like, "We're not doing this.
Yeah.
There's no chance.
Yeah.
You are doing at most 2, and that's what we leave it." So
Yeah, I'm trying to become more disciplined, but even today, my dog woke me up and their alarm was going off.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do it for me anymore.
doesn't do it.
Yeah.
My alarm, if it goes off, I'm usually up at that point. I know like early on when you're doing graphic design, you used to do like a bunch of fan art and like graphic design with different hip hop artists like Kendrick, Black, Childish Gambino, Frank Ocean, Mac Miller. You know, the list kind of went on. I think you get a Kid Cudi one I saw.
Yeah.
Do you have one in particular that you can recall that you're either most proud of or maybe had the most fun doing?
I haven't thought about those pieces in so long. Those are all just like me practicing Photoshop pretty much. And I think I made all of those on my phone. I don't even think I used them
I thought they
on
were
the
kinda
laptop. I don't know. I like the Mick Jenkins one.
Underrated.
I
Very
love
underrated.
Mick Jenkins
Mick
is
Jenkins.
one of the best MCs out.
The Waters was one of my favorite mixtapes.
That's how I got
like,
into him.
Ever.
Yeah.
So, well, Peirc, you did great. Pop quiz is over.
I barely passed.
You
but
barely
it's
passed,
it's okay.
but that's
it's
okay.
all right.
Listen, you barely passed, which is rare. Usually everybody excels. However, your attitude going into it was better than most. So, like, that's got to even out some way, shape, or form. So, therefore, we'll give you, like, a B-.
Better than most of my grades, so that's fine with me.
Speaking of video games, you created a video game. And by the time this podcast comes out, it will have already dropped and it'll have already been out. It's not out currently as we're recording.
Yeah.
But tell me about that, because that is just fascinating to me. I've never had anybody come on here that's in the process of creating a video game or has created one. So tell me about the premise of it. How did you even get the idea to start making a video game? Like, take me through it. What's been the most challenging part of creating this video game?
Yeah. So, I mean, excuse me. It goes back to disc golf. I met these 2 really dope people, Jack and Ari. And we met them. I met Jack at they do like these like monthly tag matches at like different golf courses and like 30, 50 people show up, whatever. And you play for like these tags with like the numbers on them. And then like at the end of the round, like you get like your placement tag, and then you come back the next month and try and get a better tag. So I met Jack last January at a tag match. First tag match I ever went to, actually. And we got like the same score. We both like shot really bad. And he's like, yo, like, we're like probably like similar skill level. We should go play disc golf sometime. And I was like, sure, man. I got his Instagram, and then like a month or two later, we met up, and he brought his girlfriend who also plays disc golf, and played around. We were like, getting to know each other, and they're like, yeah, so we're game developers, but our like biggest problem is like we don't have music for our video games most of the time. And in my head, I'm just like, I wonder if they would make a video game for my music. And that was like just brewing. And then I think the next time that we linked up, or maybe I texted him, I think it was the next time we linked up and played, I was like, yo, I have this project. It's like 5 songs. It flows together. It's like one like cinematic experience. It'd be really cool if we could like further develop this story and like push the experience even further. And they were like, absolutely, that sounds wicked sick. I don't think they knew what they were getting themselves into. But they've been super conducive to my vision, and like they're very easy to collaborate with. They're like great at communicating, and they've been working so hard. So Ari is a game artist. She did most of the art and assets in the game. I was lucky enough to make some of the art. So I would go over to their studio, which is just their apartment, but we call it their studio. And they would give me an iPad and a stylus, and I would open up Procreate, and I would just make random like trees and mushrooms and road signs and a bunch of random stuff. And it's not mixed media, but there's different art styles in there, because also my good friend Matt Blood, who is a super dope artist in general, but primarily an illustrator. Look him up on Instagram. It's a Filthy Habit. All of his stuff is sick, and he's like known for like the characters that he creates, and he just like he'll spend his mornings just like doodling random stuff, and some of it's dope, some of it's not as dope, but so I pulled some of his creations and creatures from his Instagram to use as like some of the enemies and some of like the random like obstacles that you have to get by in the video game. So that's like the art side, the people who created some of the visuals, and then Jack did all the heavy lifting, and he did the whole game development, coded it.
Wow.
Did a lot of the animation. Ari did a lot of the animation too, because you have to like make like set animations of like the characters moving and stuff. And so yeah, it's been a process. It's been like an 8-month or longer process of us working together. And I mean, it started pretty like naturally, of us just like playing disc golf rounds and like brainstorming and being like, oh, can we do this? Or should it be a platformer video game? Or should it be a side scroller? Or like, what kind of consumables will there be? How do you get health? How do you lose health? All that stuff. And that was like our brainstorm sessions. We're just us out on the course.
Yeah.
Just hanging out in the trees. And that evolved, and eventually their goal initially was to like get like a beta version for PAX, which is, I didn't know what PAX was before I met them, but apparently it's a humongous traveling game convention, and it's hosted in Boston every spring. And I don't know what PAX stands for, but it's like where you see like all like the announcements for like the new Nintendo games and all that stuff. And they're like, oh, we want to go there and like hand out cards and have this beta to show people. So we rushed to get the beta, and it was just the very first half of the first level to show them, okay, like this is what we're doing. Here's some of the art, and it's evolved since then. It's changed so much since then. And now we're doing like weekly meetups, finalizing, playtesting, fixing bugs.
It's crazy.
Doing all of that. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to game development that I had no idea about. And poor Jack, like I try to be like, oh, like why can't we just move that over there? He's like, because if I move that, it'll make that break. And I'm like, oh shit, because there's so many like just loopholes and random stuff you got to do, and I don't even want to try and go in and describe it because I would get it wrong. I just make the art and he does the computer stuff. But
that's wild.
Yeah,
wow.
But it's fun.
Where will people be able to play it, or like how will people be able to play it?
So we're in the process of going through the iOS application thing, which is like there's a bunch of hoops you got to jump through and get verified and all this really unnecessary, it feels, crap. But we want it to be an app, so it's accessible. We want it to be as accessible as possible. You can play it on your desktop, and I think the best way to run the game will be by downloading it on Steam, or like downloading the physical file and like just playing the game. Like back in the day, we would download Minecraft to our desktop and just like open up Minecraft.
Right.
It would be like that. That would be like the smoothest way, and the app will be super smooth too. But I don't know if desktop will be super smooth because it's the way like I should say browser. Like the way that browsers like run, it's just like can't handle all of that information.
Fair enough.
Plus with like Flash games now canceled and all that, it's like a lot more difficult to like make like computer games just like on the internet.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Which there used to be so many.
I know,
when we were growing up, like there was a million games and there was a million platforms that had games.
Yeah, like I'll go back and try and find some of those games, and I can't because it was all on Flash.
Yeah,
so,
they were all so. I mean, like I remember playing like friggin' like mini putt or whatever, like on a, I can't remember what the website is now, but there were all these different like game. I remember it was that was an era. That was a time.
Yeah, cool math games, addictive games.
Addictive games. That's exactly what it was.
Yes.
Absolutely. Wow. E-Bombs World, I think, was a different one that I remember.
Yep. I remember in school, all the game sites were blocked besides cool math games.
Yes, that was the only one that you could actually play.
It's not. There weren't math games there. It's just a loophole, baby.
Super dope. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you, man.
That got to be a cool achievement for you. Something different that you definitely don't see every day. So what's the game called?
I mean, it's just called Tripping.
It's called Tripping after the.
I guess I mean, because so the game is, the whole entire project. It's like a 12-minute playthrough and it takes you through each level. Each song is a level.
Huh.
And it's just like the experience of tripping, pretty much.
Super dope.
Yeah.
What a unique way to promote your album. That's crazy.
I'm excited for it, man. It's gonna be fun.
Well, we'll definitely link it once it's up and ready to go.
Yeah.
We'll also link that in the description as well, because this episode will be out before after that it gets released.
Cool.
The game. Last question in the main lesson, and then we'll move to the final segment, which just has one question as well. I want to talk specifically about Water Bearer Music Group.
Yeah.
Because I know you're a part of that. There's a few other people involved. So I want to just quickly describe like what the collective and label, so to speak, is, or music group, whatever you would like to call it. How it got started, what it's kind of about, like what's your mission with it, and then overall like the goals that you guys have with it as a group.
Yeah. So Water Bearer Music Group was started by Joe Bruce. And Joe Bruce, the Water Bearer. And the Water Bearer comes from Aquarius. He's an Aquarius. And like the term Water Bearer is you're providing water, you're providing life for the people. And that theme goes like down to the roots of what we are. It's really about serving the people in the music scene, serving people in need. It's our mantra is artistry and altruism always. So, and I mean, how could you not get behind that? I mean, I didn't come up with it. Joe is just a very altruistic and loving person, and he's provided me, Alyssa, and Mero's so many great opportunities to grow as artists. And Alyssa Borelli is a dope vocalist, singer, songwriter. She gives me like Amy Winehouse vibes a little bit.
Damn.
Just like smooth, dark, like sultry vocals. You can feel the pain, and it's like, yeah, it's music you can feel. Mero's is just electric. She's just like a spark plug. One of my favorite people. They're very I don't know how to describe their music. It's like sometimes I hear like, and I tell them this, but I hear 070 Shake or 070 Shake.
70 Shake, yeah.
And which is sick. I love Shake. But also there's like a playfulness to it and like charisma, and I don't want to compare them to Coi Leray. No shade to Coi Leray, but I feel like but Mero's has that, like when they're on stage, like it's epic, like jumping on speakers, like jumping into the crowd.
Yeah.
Mero's is dope. And yeah, our whole mission is just to make dope art and make it accessible and make creating art accessible to as many people as possible. And
It's a beautiful thing.
we have a lot of big things in the next coming season that we're planning that I don't think I can talk about, but it's exciting. It's we'll really be watering the world. So
I love it.
yeah.
A big shout out to everybody that's part of Water Bear Music
Yeah.
Group. And
You'll have to meet Joe at some point.
I would love to. I'd love to meet everybody you mentioned,
Yeah.
for sure. Peirc, thank you so much for being here, man. This is such a great episode. I've
It's a
really
pleasure.
just enjoyed talking to you and getting to know like a little bit deeper about you and your background, but
Mhm.
also like what you got going on with all the dope creative things that you do. Music videos, photography, your own music, a video game now. It's you get your hands on a lot of cool things, but I think the sky's the limit for sure for you. Last final question, of course, is the open response, and in the open response we do the dream song scenario.
Yeah.
So you have a song. It's a Peirc song. You get any artists, dead or alive, and producers, dead or alive, on this song. I'll structure it for you. You get 1 to 2 producers, and you get 3 guest artists. Who would be on Peirc's dream song scenario?
Oh.
Dead or alive? Give you as much time as you need.
Wasn't it only 4 at one point?
1 to 2 producers and 3 guest artists. It's actually,
always been that way?
It's always been that. Yeah.
Okay, in my brain, I was limiting myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is such a
It
tough...
used to be 1 producer. I did open it a while ago to 2.
Okay. This is tough, dude. It's really tough.
It's hard.
Okay. A must-have is Justin Vernon.
As a
As
vocalist or producer?
Can he be both?
Sure. You
I
can have
mean,
them both.
I'll say vocalist. I mean, he's dope. Need I say more?
I think that would work totally, you guys.
Yeah, well, he's a huge inspiration for me.
That makes sense. I can hear it.
Everything that he does is like ability to like balance like the technological, like trippy psychedelic shit with like human acoustic stuff. Is just sick.
It's so crazy. I
Yeah.
love Bon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Big Bon Iver fan.
Bon Iver is awesome. Johan Lennox
Big shout out to Johan Lennox.
as a producer. I want some of his strings on there. I would love his vocals on there too. Can like my producers sing if they?
You can have both Justin Vernon and Johan produce, and then they can also be on the song if you would like. You are limiting yourself though.
I'll leave him as a producer because I know like he can take his vocals and make those sound like strings. So as long as his voice is on there somehow, but he'd be a producer.
Sure, that's fine. We're cool with that.
Justin Vernon's a vocalist though.
Okay, that's fair.
And then producer Prince.
Okay, so Johan and Prince. That's incredible.
I don't know.
Prince is a
Prince
pretty
legendary producer.
Yeah,
dude.
I would say so.
He played like every single instrument on almost all of his projects. It's just epic.
Insane.
I can only have 2 producers.
That was it.
Damn it.
Prince and Johan.
Okay, and then vocalists, I would have a 3 Stacks verse. And oh man, I forgot about Rick Rubin. I don't need Rick Rubin in the room. It would be nice to have him in the room, but I already have too many producers. 3 Stacks and Mac Miller.
I want this song now.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's pretty crazy.
It'd be, I mean, Justin Vernon would be like on the hook and the bridge. Mac and 3 Stacks. I mean, Matt, they could probably be on the hook too, just like group vocals. They can all sing.
Yeah.
And Johan doing Johan things. And I don't know what the hell Prince would do, but he just having his mind in the room would just be like, yeah. And I don't want to touch it. I want to just let them do it. And I'll just be like, okay, cool.
I'll be the executive producer on this one. Well, okay, Peirc, but not really Peirc because he doesn't want to be on it, but Peirce's song technically, but featuring Mac Miller, Andre 3000, Justin Vernon, produced by Prince and Johan Lennox. I feel like it would be a smash hit.
Could be. Prince is a wild card. But he came into my
he'll
brain
make it work
out of nowhere.
He'll figure it out. He'll figure it out, whether it's just guitar licks or something like that. You make
versatile,
it work.
Yeah.
Well, Peirc, thank you so much for being here. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
Last thing to do would be to just plug away. Where can people find you? And anyone else you want to shout out, take the time now to do that.
Cool. I'm Peirc. You can look me up wherever you listen to music. And it's not Paul Pierce. It's PEIRC3. 3 is a magic number. And that's it.
Dope.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of Peirc, just coming on to us for the first time, you can follow us at Turntable Teachers on Instagram and TikTok. You can also hit up our website, turntableteachers.com, for all the latest blogs, podcast episodes, etc. And then if you're an artist, content creator, podcaster of any kind, make sure you hit us up at aoastudios.org to book your session or service today. Once again, Peirc, thanks so much for being here. It's a fantastic episode.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. As always, I'm Mike. That's Peirc with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turntable teachers.